The form that we need to create for the user registration is going to be quite different from the form that we used for the login. As a login form just performed some validation to check to see if a user was present and can be authenticated. This one is going to require us to store some information in the database about a user. In order to achieve that, inside of our forms.py file, we're going to do from django.contrib.auth.models import user. And this will import the user model provided by Django. After that, then we're going to do from django.contrib.auth.forms, we're going to import the UserCreationForm. And this is a base form that Django provides us, and it will give us usernames and emails. All we need to do is extend it to allow for passwords. After that, we're just going to import some validation. So from django.coreExceptions, we're going to import validation error. And we'll take a look at these a little later on. So after our user login form, we're going to create a new class called UserRegistrationForm. And this form is going to inherit from UserCreationForm. And like I said, this will give us the username, and it will give us email fields. And we'll just give this a doc string that says form used to register a new user. We're going to create two fields here. We're going to create a password 1 and a password 2. So password 1 is just going to be forms.charfield, and then we're going to give it a widget of forms.passwordInput. And then after that, we're going to create password 2. Password 2 is going to be pretty much the same. So we're going to do password 2 is equal to forms.charfield. Except for this time, we're also going to specify a label on this. So we want the widget to say, or we want the label to say password confirmation. And then we're going to give it the same password input widget as we did for password 1. So we say widget equals forms.password input. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, once I've typed this out, I'm just going to go back to the beginning just before the label and hit a carriage return to bring me down to the next line just to clean up our code a little bit. And I'll do the same with widget. I'll bring that down to its own line as well. The next thing that we need to do is we need to create an inner class. An inner class is a class that we can use that will provide just some information about this form. These are called meta classes, and Django usually uses them internally to determine things about the class. But we can also use it to specify the model that we want to store information in, and we want to use it to specify the fields that we're going to expose, which are email, username, password 1, and password 2. So I'm going to copy the name of my user registration form here, and I'm going to head over to my views.py file, and I'm going to import it after the user login form. So inside of the registration view, then I'm just going to create an instance of the registration form. So I'm going to say registration_form is equal to a user registration form, and then I'm just going to pass this through as a context dict. And the key is just going to be registration form, and once again we'll have the value of registration form, which is the name of the instance that we created on the line above. And I'm just going to hit carriage return here again to knock some of this down to the next line to make it a little bit more readable. So once I've done that, then what we need to do is we need to start rendering this information on the register.html file. And we already have a lot of this information on our login.html file. So I'm going to open up that page there now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy pretty much all the content from this page, or from the content block. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my register.py file, or register.html file, and after our p element that allows the user to sign in, I'm just going to pop in the form, and I'm just going to change it from login form to registration form. I'm just going to create a button that says registration, and then I'm going to head back over to my browser. I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to go and click on the register link. Now this spits out a pretty hideous looking registration form with some fields just kind of lackadaisically spat out onto a page with no styling whatsoever. But we'll take a look at that in just a moment. First thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to change the button to say register instead of registration. So let's do that now. And go ahead and refresh. And there we go. Okay, so we can type in some stuff into these fields. We can see that there's some basic information here about what's required and what's not. But let's go ahead and we'll clean this up a bit. Django forms actually allow us to render the forms in different ways. What we're going to do is we're going to render this as P elements. So each of these fields are going to be rendered now as P elements instead of just one big div. And we can also use tables and stuff like that as well. So I'm just going to remove, as we can see here, the field names are generated based on the name of the property unless we specify a label. So I've changed mine from password1 now to just password. But unfortunately now we're getting some validation errors there that says our password is can't be similar, or it needs to contain a certain amount of characters. And that's due to a bug in our form, so we'll take a look at how to fix that in the next lesson. But as we can see now, we have a user creation form working.